Hello there folks, welcome back to my Ker Nethalas Into the Midnight Throne playthrough. I'm the Lone Adventurer. Thank you very much for stumbling your way upon my channel. If you have not watched the other parts of this series, this is part 3, did I say that? It is part 3. I'll put a link to part 1 up in the corner of the screen right about now, and links to part 1 and part 2 down in the description below. Now, it has been a while. I won't bore you with the details, but I was ill and then I messed my thumb up, and that's still making things a little bit tricky in terms of my drawing and playing games like this on camera. But I think it has been long enough and I'm ready to get back into this game. Now, in the previous video, we went into our first room, which is the room where every game of Ker Nethalas starts. You are dumped through a hole somewhere in the city and you find yourself on a pile of corpses, and that's where you start. We faced a nether fiend in the first room, so we got our first bit of combat out of the way quite quickly. That was fairly successful, although that encounter did leave me with the burning condition, and we're going to get rid of that straight away. So if we turn to page 76 on the conditions and look at burning, we can see persistent damage such as burning, bleeding or poison will do damage outside of combat, so we would be taking damage in each room. We can optionally get rid of this condition by increasing our exhaustion by 2. And I think I'm going to do that because I don't really want to be thinking about burning all the time. And our exhaustion at the moment is okay. So we'll increase our exhaustion to 2. I don't think that that has any effect at such a low level, so I'm not even going to bother looking it up for the time being. But that means we can get rid of the burning condition. So that is that sorted out. Now, there were a number of things in the last video that need clarifying, I think. Given how complex this game is, at least compared to games that I ordinarily play, I was pleasantly surprised at how little I got wrong, if I'm honest. But there were a few bits and pieces. Now, I've got some notes off to one side of what those things were, so I'm just gonna get into those as we go. So I think what we need to do really is just push on and get a bit further into this domain, the domain of the Veil Shifter, that is the overseer of the domain we're in at the moment. Okay, so looking at my entering a new room chart that I've got here. As a side note, a few people asked for copies of this. I will make it available. I'll pop it up somewhere, not sure where, probably in Google Drive or something, and I'll pop a link in the description below this video. So let's have a look. What do we need to do? We're going to go down through this door here, and actually I think we need to check whether it is locked. So first thing is to check for persistent conditions, which we did, and we got rid of that persistent condition. And then we need to find out if this door is locked. So a door will be locked on a result of 12 or more on the roll of a d20. 10. Okay, so the door is not locked. Lovely. Then we need to do our lair check and tension die check. So at the moment for our lair we are rolling d12. And remember, if we roll a 1 or a 2, we'll switch down to a d10. Oh, a 3. Close, but not quite. And for the tension die, we're currently rolling a d8. And the same thing goes. If we roll a 1 or a 2, we'll be dropping down to a d6. 8. Okay, so those things are fine. And so we need to work out what shape our new room will take. So we're going to be rolling D100 for this. I've made a slight adjustment to the dice that I'm using. You'll see why more when we get to the combat, but I'm now using the same colour dice for both the 10s and the 1s, and we've got a dedicated multiples of 10 dice for the 10s digit. So we have rolled 76. 76 gives us a dead end, interestingly, and a rather strange shape. So I'll get that drawn. Alright, it turned out it wasn't this room, it was this one here. I always forget that it's the illustration above the number that is the room, not the one below. I don't know why, I can't wrap my head around that, but there you go. So we've got this rather elaborately shaped room here, which took longer to draw than I was anticipating, but it's nice to have a pretty map. And that has actually got an onward door, so it is not a dead end. This is room number 2 that we are encountering. Now we can have an optional description, which I think we're going to do, at least for now. If it suddenly starts to feel pointless, we'll stop doing it, but we've got a table of descriptions, so why not use them? I think it's D100. Yes, it is. 15. A pitch black room that gives the illusion of extending infinitely downward, leaving those who enter with an overwhelming sense of dread. Delightful. We need to reduce our light source by 1. Just see, I've already got check for direct damage from persistent conditions there. But I do feel like probably that's a good thing to get out of the way as soon as you enter a room, so I might move that up a little bit. We need to see whether we are having a combat encounter. Now these are quite simple rolls, and I think eventually I will remember these, but right now it's been a while since I've played. So we're rolling D20. A result of 10 or more means we encounter an enemy. 20. It's pretty decisive, isn't it? So we have got another enemy. That's probably good because I'm feeling quite rusty and it would be nice to get the combat under my belt straight away. So we need to roll D20 and D6 to see what we're encountering. 4 gives us this combat table. 1 gives us living moss. So, living moss. A living moss's grotesque form is a twisted amalgamation of decaying vegetation and rotting flesh, melded together in an unsettling union. The living moss exudes an aura of decay and malevolence, and as it moves, the ground beneath its feet withers and dies, leaving behind a trail of death and desolation. When threatened, the living moss summons writhing thorny vines to ensnare its enemies, draining the life force from them and adding their remains to its own decaying form. Lovely. Alright, I was just looking at my positive game effect for being a Hexmancer, which means that opponents can potentially receive +1 damage when they receive damage from a Hexmancer ability. However, the only ability I've got is the first one, which doesn't actually do damage, so we don't need to worry about that actually. I realise that now, until we get at least the tier 2 ability. So we don't have to worry about that. We're going to get straight into it. We have no conditions to check, so we need to do the initiative check. And this is the point at which it's going to be handy to have 2 sets of dice. This was a suggestion of the designer, Alex, who says when he plays, he does combat with 2 sets of dice, 1 for your character, 1 for the opponent you are currently facing. And that means we can roll all of the dice at once, saving a little bit of time, and actually, now that I think about it, making it a little bit easier to compare the results, because I don't have to keep the results for the first combatant in my head when I re-roll the dice, because I'll have them all in front of me. So we're going to roll for initiative, which is our perception versus the target's awareness. Target's awareness is 30, our perception is 50. And the green dice are going to be for Antonio, our character. Looking good. 10 for Antonio and 50 for the living moss. So the living moss has failed their check completely. I have passed goodly. I've done a goodly roll there. At this point though, I just want to point out something that I think I got wrong or overlooked or didn't explain adequately in the previous video, which is that this roll, much like the actual combat rolls themselves, this roll is won by the individual who rolls highest whilst rolling under their target number. So if the living moss had rolled 25, it would have been under their target number of 30, more than my number of 10, which means they would have succeeded. As it stands, they did not, and we get to go first. So I think we're going to once again ignore our Hexmancer ability, and we're going to go straight in with our longsword, standard attack, using our bladed skill. Our bladed skill level is 60. However, if the player wins the initiative check, they get plus 20 for the first roll. The attacking character always has advantage, which gives a plus 10. So my first roll is going to be 60, 70, 80, 90. So I have to roll less than 90 in order to succeed. But this is obviously a contested roll once again, and the living moss is hoping to roll less than 40, and then obviously whoever rolls the highest number, lower than their target number, is the individual who is successful. So let's do it. First attack roll. It is the player's turn. Antonio has rolled 46. The living moss has rolled 97. So we've got some nice strong rolls there for the start. 46 is obviously lower than what we wanted to roll, and 97 is way above the combat skill of the living moss. Fantastic. So we need to find out what the hit location is and then work out how much damage we are doing. So the living moss is a humanoid, so we're going to be rolling d20, and we've hit the living moss in the chest. Don't think that makes much difference. If we hit in the head, that would be their point of weakness, and that would be better. But we didn't hit them in the chest. Instead, we need to roll d6 to see how much damage we are doing. Now this is another area where I made a slight error in the last playthrough. I think at some point I was I did a super hit of some kind. Can't remember the actual phrase, but basically, if you end up rolling more than one dice, I added the numbers up, but you don't do that. You compare each individual dice to the damage table, and you see how you've done that way. But as it stands, I'm only rolling 1d6 on this occasion. 5, fantastic. That gives us 2 points of damage. And then on to the living moss's turn. We're going to roll d6 to see what attack they use. End life. That doesn't sound good. Magical. The living moss extends a cluster of tendrils toward a creature, forcing it to make an endurance check or take d6 necrotic damage that targets their health directly, ignoring any remaining toughness. And unfortunately, our magic resistance is super low. I'm just trying to remember if this is a contested roll. I'm not sure that it is, but I'll just check. Yep, unfortunately, this is not a contested roll. We just have to roll and roll less than 20. And I really need to look for opportunities to increase that magic resistance, because at the moment it doesn't feel good. 58, so we have failed the magic resistance. So we need to make an endurance check or take d6 necrotic damage. Now my endurance is 30. 59, that's another fail. So we're taking d6 necrotic damage. 2. Now I guess we are comparing that on the damage dealt table, as we do with any damage. Actually, maybe I should look up necrotic damage quickly. Okay, there's nothing specific about necrotic damage. It's just damage done to you by undead stuff. And we're taking that, unfortunately, directly to our health. And that is a shame, because the health is a lot harder to recover, is my understanding. So that's quite annoying, but I guess it could have been worse. So that was the enemy's turn. I forgot to move my little cube. So back to the player turn. Okay, and we're going to be doing a standard attack again. Ooh, they've rolled quite low. Okay, so I've rolled 56, which is lower than my bladed weapons score. However, the living moss has rolled 28, which is lower than their combat skill. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is good, isn't it? Because I have rolled the higher number, something in my brain can't quite switch into the higher number being better than the lower number. I think it's because you're rolling low, and generally you want to roll a low number in order to roll under the target number. Something in my brain is just saying low is always good, but that's not exactly the case. So here we've both rolled under our target number, but because I have rolled under my target number and a higher number than my opponent, that means I have been successful, which is fabulous news. And I need to remember that my longsword is a slashing weapon, which means +1 damage if no armour. I don't think that would have made a difference. No, that wouldn't have made a difference in the last attack. Okay, so with that done, we need to roll to see where we are hitting. So this is a humanoid. We are hitting it on the left arm. No armour on the left arm, or indeed anywhere. So we're rolling d6, we're adding 1 because we've got a slashing weapon. 4 plus 1 is 5. So that +1 did make a difference here, because that kicks us up to doing 2 points of damage instead of 1. So the living moss is down to 1 point. Into the enemy's turn. Roll d6 to see what action the living moss is taking. 2. Necrotic touch, physical attack. So we can try and defend this using by our longsword, by parrying. The living moss reaches out with a necrotic infused tendril, attempting to strike a target and deal d6 necrotic damage on a hit. Okay, so we're going to do a attack roll, a contested attack roll. I'm trying to roll under my bladed weapons to defend, but because my longsword has got parrying, I get +10 to this roll, and they are trying to roll, the living moss is trying to roll under 40. I've rolled 33, looking good. The living moss has rolled 83, so that's a solid fail. Now I think that because I successfully defended, I get to do a defensive move. So we're going to roll d10 to see what the defensive move is. 0, that's a 10. Your next attack won't suffer the usual -30 modifier to your attack skill when targeting a specific body part. Oh, if it's a monster or NPC, they are obligated to attempt to target a weak spot. So basically, I can target the head which is the weak spot of the living moss, so I don't see any reason why I shouldn't do that. So we're going to do, we're going back into the player turn. Antonio is attacking, so we're trying to roll less than 60, 70. I think I've been forgetting that. The attacking character has advantage, rolling at plus 10. Not sure it would have made a difference, don't think it would have done. So we are trying to roll under 70. Living Moss is trying to roll under 40. And I'm targeting the head if I didn't say that before. Ooh, so we have rolled 9. Oh! And the Living Moss has rolled 5. No, once again, that's good. There was me thinking it was bad, because once again, I can't wrap my head around the highest number thing. I'll get there, I will definitely get there. But we both rolled under our target number. I rolled higher, Antonio rolled higher, which means that it is a successful attack, and we have hit the head. Let me just remind myself what that means. Okay, basically that means that we've done a critical hit. So instead of rolling 1d6 for damage, we're going to be rolling 2. Gives us a greater chance of taking the guy out. Now I did notice while looking at this that targeting body parts, that in the targeting body parts section it says that you can disable a limb, a leg, arm or wing, which reduces the target's attack skill by 10. So I don't know if that means that if you successfully hit those things, that does that automatically, or if it's only if you specifically target it. Alex, I'm guessing you're watching this, and you'll probably tell me in a comment below. Do you have to specifically target a leg, arm or wing in order to get that reduction in the target's attack skill? Now that doesn't really matter right now because we have successfully hit. We're rolling 2 dice to work out damage. A 5 and a 1. So remember, we don't add these together. So the 1 does nothing. Oh, actually, no, we're adding on +1 damage. I'm guessing to each roll. So actually, the 1 becomes a 2 and does 1 point of damage. The 5 becomes a 6, does 2 points of damage. We're doing 3 points of damage, but we only need to do 1. And the Living Moss is defeated. We can recover 1d4 toughness now. Unfortunately, we can't recover that point of health that we lost, which is a bit of a shame. Armor integrity. So when it did me that damage, should I have checked where on my body it was hitting me, and therefore whether it was being partially blocked by my armor? I'm thinking not. Maybe that's only for physical attacks. But either way, we don't need to check for armor integrity because we didn't use our armor, which is just on our arms, I think. Then we need to check for spoils using the resources table. We haven't got the chances here of something super cool, but we could get something handy. So we're going to roll a d10. A 9 gives us 1 crafting supply. So we'll add that into our crafting supplies here. Taking me up to 19 crafting supplies. That's pretty cool. I don't know how far those go. Crafting supplies are important when you camp. I'm going to have to check to see what a good amount of crafting supplies is so that we know when we at least can consider camping. So that's that, and then we get 50 XP. So that's going to take us up to 100 XP. And the combat encounter is done. Alright, so the only thing left to do in this room is a scavenging check. I get a bonus on this because I'm a tracker. My mastery is tracker. Oh, I just remembered something else. We need to set some personal goals, which we should have done right at the beginning of this playthrough. We'll get to that in a second. We are going to do a scavenge check. Oh, we get advantage on scavenge and perception checks. So we should have got a +10 advantage when we did our roll for initiative. Luckily we won that anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now we're going to do a scavenge check, which is 30 plus 10 because we're the tracker. 77 is a fail, so that is a fail. But again, because we're a tracker, our tier 1 ability means that we automatically get plus... Oh no, that's after a successful scavenge. Okay, so my scavenge was a failure. Before we carry on, we need to do these personal goals. So this is part of character creation, really, I think. So it says, aside from simply surviving, you can set goals for your character as you explore the never-ending maze of Ker Nethalas. Force your character to handle different kinds of situations, hunt for particular types of creatures, master particular skills, etc., etc. So it says here, we strongly recommend that you choose the Overseer Overthrown personal goal as your first one, since the reward will grant you access to a third mastery. Yeah, fair enough. And actually, Alex messaged me after he watched the previous videos, that's the designer of this game, and he said that I should consider selecting Overseer Overthrown and Bladed Weapon Master. I guess since I've got a bladed weapon. Whoa, blimey. That is a long-term objective. So Bladed Weapon Master, the objective is to defeat 50 opponents with the bladed weapon skill. And I've defeated 2. So I can't see me successfully completing that personal goal within this video series. But we'll pop that anyway. And the reward is +1 damage when wielding a bladed weapon. So that's pretty cool. And then Overseer Overthrown. Defeat an Overseer. You obtain an amulet. And that's what gives you the extra mastery tier. Oh, it's not a tier. It's a whole extra mastery. I see. You get that third mastery unlocked. That is cool. Okay, so I'm going to write those in. Okay, so I've written down Bladed Weapon Master, and I've popped a little 2 there so that I can keep track of how many enemies I've killed. It's going to take a while to get that one. On to a new room, I think. That one is done. So we're going to go down here. New area, check for persistent conditions. Don't have any. Is there a door? Yes, there is. We need to check if it is locked, which I think was a D12? No, D20, and we're trying to roll 12 plus means the door is locked. 2. Brilliant. Door is not locked. Then we need to do the lair check and the tension die check. So tension die, we're rolling D8. Actually, let's do the lair check first. We're rolling D12. 10. Okay, no change there. And remember, until that lair dice starts to decrease in size, we do not find the room where the Overseer is located. So I think we'll see how it goes, but the problem with this sort of roll is I really like this system, but if you never roll a 1 or a 2, then you never progress. So I might say after 5 rooms on a certain dice, you automatically go down or something like that. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, tension dice D8 and 3. Remember, 1 or a 2 means that it is reduced. Then we need to roll for room or corridor. D100. 73 gives us... This is a dead end. Okay, so we've got this little 5-sided room here. Alrighty, here we go. This is room 3. We need a room description, because why not? That was on 00, so that is a 9. Tombstones and coffins line the walls, bearing the names of lovers separated by death, forever longing for each other's embrace. Right, so it is a room, so we need to reduce our light source by 1. We need to roll for combat encounter, so that's a D20. 10 or more means we have a combat encounter. 5 means that we don't. And that means we need to roll for an event. So this is our first event of the game. And we've got a D100 table of events. So 83. The second you step in this room, you are assaulted by an invisible force that slams against you. Make a combat check with your weapon of choice. If you succeed, you manage to fend off the assault and earn 10 XP. If you fail, you suffer D12 bludgeoning damage. Brutal. Okay, so I guess this isn't contested because we're not told what number we would be rolling against. Combat check using your weapon of choice. We will be using the bladed weapon. So we're trying to roll less than 60, and we have quite comfortably done that. We have rolled 5, so the invisible force we can ignore. Alright, I think we would stop this video now that this room is complete. Oh, wait a minute, the room is not complete, is it? We need to do a scavenging check. Let's do that. So we get advantage. No, I didn't do that right, did I? On the last one. So advantage means that you roll 2 dice and you can flip the digits around to your advantage. Okay, so we're doing a scavenging check. We want to roll less than 30. And actually we've rolled 13. So we need to roll D20 to see what we are able to scavenge. 13. We find D4 cooking supplies. That's 2. Plus, because we're a tracker, we get +1 cooking ingredients. Cooking supplies, cooking ingredients, I'm sure that means the same thing. So we're getting 3 in total. Yeah, so I think we will probably leave it there. I think what we'll do is we'll just go back to room number 1 so I don't have to remember where we are, and then we're ready in the next video to just go through into the new room. Now, when you go through rooms you've already explored, I know you need to put the torch, reduce your light source by 1. I'm not sure if there's anything else you need to do. Okay, so each room we go back through, we need to reduce the light source by 1, and we need to do the tension die roll. So going back into room 2, light source goes down by 1. Tension die roll, we're rolling a D8. 3, that's fine. Then back into room 1, reduce the light source by 1, and do the tension die roll again. 4, so we're safe again. Okay, there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, do consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, hitting the bell notification icon if you like adventures like this. Drop a comment below the video, let me know how you think the series is going, whether you've got this game, if you're playing it, have you got further than me? Probably you have. I'd like to hear how you're finding Ker Nethalas Into the Midnight Throne. I'll see you again soon for the next playthrough video. Bye for now.